Hi everyone, and welcome to this webinar on navigating through G Suite for Education. I'm Camille and I will be with you for today's webinar. I'm QSR's trainer for G Suite for Education and I am a Google Certified Educator Level 1. This live streaming is brought to you by Q Software Research, a Google Education partner since 2017, and a Google Cloud partner specializing on education since 2018. This is also in collaboration with Acer, Empowering People, and the Google Educator Groups or GEG Philippines. So if in case, again, I'll just repeat this, if you're interested in registering your school for G Suite for Education, you can sign up to our sign-up sheet using the link that I just flashed right now. It's bit.ly/IWantGSFE, and it is at the description box below if in case you were not able to copy that. And we also have a feedback form that's also there. It's tinyurl.com/QSR webinar feedback. I will also be linking in our previous webinars on the overview of G Suite for Education and our how to register to G Suite for Education webinars. That is at the description box. All of the links that I just mentioned are all at the description box, so you can just check it out right there. And if you do have questions anytime, you can comment them at the chat box and we'll try to answer them by the end of this webinar. I'll try to go on to the Q&A after all of the discussions today. So firstly, I'll be giving you an overview of what apps or tools you can use in G Suite before showing you how to navigate through G Suite. I actually divided two of these things. I divided all of the applications into two. One is communication and storage, and the other one is collaboration. So for communication, I think we're all familiar with these applications. But just in case you're not, I'll be giving you a bit of an overview on them. Firstly, we have Gmail. This is what we use as formal mode of communication to our administrators, co-teachers, students, and even co-workers or co-employees. Next is we have Hangouts Meet. This is where we can do online classes, video calls, live streaming. Live streaming is actually an update that they recently rolled out around about 3 weeks ago. And you can now also record classes or calls. Next, we have Calendar, Google Calendar. This is where you can see deadlines for students because this is also integrated in the Google Classroom. So whatever deadline teachers give to their students in the Google Classroom also shows up at the Google Calendar. Aside from this, you can also use Google Calendar for room bookings, for example, or sports practices, schedules of tests. You can chart it there at your Google Calendar. And lastly, for communication and storage division, we have the Google Drive. Of course, this is the star of the show. It's where you can store your materials, your videos, your photos, everything that you get to use in class. It's a repository of your documents. And if you are registered for G Suite for Education, you get unlimited storage versus the 15 gigabytes you have for your personal Gmail account. So that's your Google Drive. Now we go to collaboration. These are some of the applications where we really get to collaborate, especially the students. Number one, we have Google Docs. This is where we create documents. I think most of us are very, very much familiar with Google Docs. Next, we have Google Sheets for spreadsheets, and you use this for better computing, for analysis of data, for accounting, and the like. For teachers, this is where we get to encode the grades as well. And this is also integrated in the Google Classroom. So once you're done with grading the documents, it immediately goes to grading. So yeah. Next is, aside from these, we have slides for presentations and forms. Google Forms, you use this for surveys, quizzes, feedbacks, etc. Google Sites. This one, not a lot of educator students are familiar with Google Sites, but it is there. You can use it if you have G Suite. It is a tool where your students can do an online portfolio because, well, instead of letting them do the traditional portfolio system, which is not a bit, but actually very wasteful with paper, money, time, and effort. At least with this, um, all of them could use Google Sites for the online portfolio, which is it saves more time and more energy actually. Lastly, we have the Google Classroom, and we call this the mission control for teachers. This is where they get to post their assignments, their materials, announcements. They can also grade the work that all of their students would give them. So we will have a separate webinar focusing on Google Classroom, so I hope you watch out for that. Using all of the apps that I mentioned could actually save you 1,194 hours of classroom time in one semester just by not handing out, materials like giving them back their homeworks, giving them back their quizzes or their exam papers, or collecting paper, right? And I remember when I used to teach, I would fall in line, go to school early, fall in line for the photocopy machine and have my exams photocopied or my quizzes or the handouts. All of them, it takes so much time and effort. Sometimes we also use our lunch breaks to have them photocopied, and not all of the teachers or schools have photocopy machines. So it really is a good habit to make use of online platforms instead of having them photocopy. Aside from this, of course, using the apps can also save schools up to $25,000 on paper costs, right? I mean, not all of the schools have photocopy machines, as mentioned earlier on, and sometimes it's actually the teacher who pays for the photocopies. So this saves time and money for them. Aside from that, other benefits include a more efficient and organized classroom workflow, better student access to learning materials, quicker communication, and of course, easier records retention. So those are just some of the other benefits of having an online platform like G Suite for Education. All of the information that I mentioned just now is actually from an ebook published by Google entitled 12 Ways to Safely Adopt G Suite into Your School. And the link is at the description box below. So if you want to check that ebook out, you may. It's at the description box. It's free for everyone to check out. Now that we are familiar with all of these apps, you're probably wondering, how would I know if my school is registered to G Suite for Education? Because sometimes it's not necessarily cascaded down to the teachers, not even to the students also. So sometimes teachers reach out to us asking if we could register for them. But then their schools are already registered. So that's the only time they find out that their schools are already registered for G Suite, but they're not utilizing it. So the easiest way to find out if you're registered to G Suite for Education is to go to mail.google.com and try signing in. So once you go to mail.google.com, you try signing into Gmail. And you just type down your username, your email address, and then your password afterwards. But you won't reach that point actually if it's not a Google account. So again, if it works, then we can confirm that your school email or company email has a G Suite for Education, or is registered for G Suite for Education. But if it's not, then that's the time you inquire how to register. So now we move on to the navigation through G Suite. And we can access all of the applications mentioned earlier on in 3 ways. First one is by typing app.google.com at the Omnibox. What is an Omnibox? I think some of you, for most of you, it's probably the first time you've heard of the Omnibox. And the Omnibox is where we type the URL in Google Chrome. So if you want to create a document, for example, you go to docs.google.com. Or if it's a spreadsheet, you go to sheets.google.com. If it's a presentation, go to slides.google.com, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that is your Omnibox. If you're not familiar with that, that's where we type the URL of the website we're going to. The second way of navigation is, once you click in, or once you enter the website, rather, at the Omnibox, you get to go to a landing page or the page where you're supposed to go. If you enter docs.google.com, for example, you will land on this page that I just flashed right now. And it would give you options to create your document in a blank file or a template option. So next option or next way to navigate through G Suite is through the waffle icon. The waffle icon is found at the top right corner of the Google homepage beside your image or your icon. It's encircled here, if you can see the slides. So yeah, it's called the waffle icon because it literally looks like a waffle with the 9 dots put together. And when you click the waffle icon, you will see the different apps of G Suite that you can use. Third and lastly, we have the new button through Google Drive. You can access the applications by going to Google Drive and click the new button. And then you can access the applications there, as you can see on the screen. So that's it. Those are the different ways of navigating to the applications that you need to use. Now let me just look at some comments and questions if you have them, and hopefully I get to answer them. So far, I don't see any questions, but I see a lot of people saying hi. Good evening to everyone. Sir JD, Miss Gertrude Corpuz, ICTO office. I think this is from Universidad de Manila, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, hi still, sir. Sir Kevin, Miss Melanie, Miss Thelma Palawag, Miss Hester, Miss Rachel, Miss Mina. Hello. Miss Mina is actually the director of USR. Very, very proactive. Mr. Victor Lam. Hi, Sir Victor. How are you? We hope you're doing good. Miss Joanne, Miss Yumi. Look Beyond the Classroom. You can also follow Look Beyond the Classroom on YouTube. Miss Crest Serrano. And yeah, so far, no questions. But if you do have questions, please do not be scared or afraid to comment them down. We'll answer them as soon as we can. And that's all the time we have. If you still have more questions, you can, again, put them at the comment box section or comment section below and we'll answer them. Again, if you're interested in registering your school for G Suite for Education, you can sign up in this link. It's bit.ly/imodGSFE. Again, it's at the description box below. And what else? Don't forget to like our social media accounts, of course. It's facebook.com/QSoftwareResearch. And we also have Twitter at QSR Corp. Of course, the YouTube channel where I'm streaming right now. Please do subscribe because we have a lot of webinars in store for you. And what else? We have a website. For inquiries, you get to see at least an overview of the company. That's qsr.com.ph. And again, if you're still, a bit hesitant about commenting, you can email us at education@qsr.com.ph, and we would love to help you out. And again, we have a lot of webinars in store for you in this webinar series running from April 2 to April 7, 2020, and the week after that also by the GEGs. And hopefully you learned something from this webinar, and I'll catch you again on the next one. Thank you for your time and for joining us. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.